Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ches, Daf 8 of Masechta Taanis. Friends, what do you think today's Daf talks about? Should we take a vote? Who thinks it talks about rain? Talks a little bit about rain, Yeah. What else? Who thinks it talks about other stuff? Talks a little bit about other stuff. Alright. Friends, agadata. Givaldik. Oh, I should roll up my sleeves. 1 second. Alright, we gotta get our hands dirty over here. I'm gonna roll up my sleeves. How's Taanis been going? It's pretty awesome, right? Right, let's go right there. Alright, so we're all the way at the bottom of the Zayin and Beis. Bottom line. Rish Lakish Omar says, Rish Lakish, Ra'isa Talmud, if you see a student, Shalimudu Kosha Olav Kebarzel, that mamish, it's hard for him to learn, like iron, that hard. Bishvil Mashnasto She'enu Sudura Olav, friends, this is awesome. Why is it so hard for him to learn? Because it's not clear. Because the Mishnah is not organized for him. That he's trying to learn Gemara, but he hasn't first learned Mishnayos. Mishnayos are sort of the foundation, the halachis that the Mishnayos, that the Gemara is built upon. And if you're not clear on the Mishnah, so then it's just going to become a big mess when it comes to the Gemara. So it's important that first you have to have clarity on step 1 before you can move on to step 2. Givaldik is important, obviously, in computer programming, of course, as well. It's funny, I'm working with the designer now, Givaldik, the designer. But at the end of the day, the designer doesn't have to build it. The developer does. So therefore, all of a sudden, when the developer has to start breaking it down conceptually into what needs to be built first and what needs to be built second, so it brings a different angle to things. But Baruch Hashem, works out. Shenema, as the pasuk says, "V'hu lo ponim kilkul," that if he's having a hard time, Matakante, what do? Yarbe b'yeshiva, study more. And I guess by studying more, you'll gain clarity in the Mishnayos, and then you can move on to the Gemara. Shenema, as the pasuk says, "V'chayolim yigaber," that he strengthens himself in the Beis HaMedrash with the Talmidei with other students. V'yisun hirshe chochma kol sheken mishnas usturlo meikar. And the best thing, v'yisron, the best is hirshe chochma is in mishnas usturlo meikar. The best thing would be if he just from the outset would just make sure to take care that he's got the foundations before moving on to the more detailed, nuanced things. That would be ideal. But if not, so you can always go back later and put in the work after the fact. Ki other Rish Lakish, like Rish Lakish, have Masadim Asnisin Arbein Zimnin Kineged Mem Yom Shenitn Torah Va'ayel Lekamed Rabbi Yochanan. Friends, I guess that's how you become the great Rish Lakish. That's how you become the great Rish Lakish. Aside from being the great Rish Lakish, but he would study first, he would prepare 40 times before he would go to Rabbi Yochanan. Not surprising why Rabbi Yochanan had such a great relationship with Rish Lakish, and somebody who was so passionate about studying with him. 40 times. He didn't just prepare for the meeting 15 minutes, a half an hour in advance. You would review and come prepared. Having reviewed the material 40 times before entering to study with Rabbi Yochanan. Ravada bar Ahava, Masadam Asnisin Esen va'arba Zimnin, Kenegetorn v'muchsuvim v'ayelekami derava. Ravada bar Ahava. Now, of course, there were 2 Ravada bar Ahavas, I'm pretty sure. One was a student of Rav, the other was a student of Rava. And we're saying that the Ravada bar Ahava was a student of Rava. So Masadam Asnisin Esen va'arba Zimnin. He would prepare his Mishnayos 24 times, corresponding to the 24 books of the Tanakh. Va'ayelekami derava, and only then would he go before Rava. Woo! Rava Omar, says Rava, if you see a fellow that his learning is very, very difficult for him, like iron, Okay, I guess iron is very strong. Yeah, I wouldn't, iron sounds very strong to me. So then, maybe it's because his Rebbe is not showing too much affection towards him. Shenemar v'ulo ponim kilkol, that he's like showing kilu not such starke affection. So my takantis, how do you fix it? Siyarbe olavreim. So get your friends to be like melitz yoshas for you, right? So you should get his friends to step in for him and try to convince the Rebbe that really the guy is a gewaldige fellow. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, v'chayolim migaber, that get the people to strengthen your petitioners on your behalf. And the ideal would be if already from the beginning he had a good relationship with his Rebbe. From Rabbi, says Rabbi, what does the pasuk mean? If a snake bites, it's because nobody was incanting, I think that's the word, into its ear, whispering into its ear. And there's no benefit to somebody who I think it's somebody who speaks Lashon Hara, right? I think so. Why not? There's no better thing. There's nothing good about speaking Lashon Hara. I think that's what it means. If you see a generation that the heavens have become dull like iron, and that it's not raining, it's because they don't have people to pray for them. So what do? So go to somebody who knows how to pray for rain and have him pray for rain. As the pasuk says, Yagid olav reyo, that you should have a fellow speak for it, pray for them so that they get the rain that they need. And there's no benefit to a fellow, to a bala lashon, somebody with a tongue. What does that mean? That if a fellow is able to daven and he doesn't daven, ma'ano yeshlo. So then what good is he? If he's able to pray for the people and he doesn't, so what good is he? And if a fellow who knows how to daven davens, but even so the rain doesn't come, so what do? So go to a chosid, and then he'll pray a lot. As the pasuk says, and you will command on him b'mafgia, and pigia is a prayer. As the pasuk says, don't pray for this nation, and don't raise for them rejoicing and prayer, and don't beseech me. So we see that pigia is a lashon tefillah. And if you have a fellow who prays for the people, and because of his prayer they get rain, and he starts thinking that he's big stuff, well, maybe aflo olam. Well, that's ultimately going to bring anger to the world, and that's chaval. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, mikne af al ola, that there's anger for a fellow who's ola, for a fellow who raises himself up. So don't raise yourself up too much, just enough to get away with it. But anything more than that, you bring anger to the world, and we got enough things on our plates. We don't need anger in the world, Rav Omer says, if you have two Talmidei Chacham that are in the same city, but they don't get along, miskanin be'af umaylin oso shenemar mikne af al ola. Whoops. So basically, it's just going to bring a whole bunch of anger. Again, Talmidei Chacham, they should get along with each other, and then things will be very nice. There won't be any anger, and things will be great. Alright. Rish Lakish says, Rish Lakish, what does the pasuk mean? That if the snake bites because it didn't, because nobody was whispering in its ear, there's no benefit to the bala lashon. What is this? Lost love in the future. That in the future, all of the animals are going to come to the snake. They're going to say to the snake, they're going to say, hey, snakey, We don't understand. Ari doris v'ochel, zev tov v'ochel. All right, a lion, so it kills another animal and it eats it. A wolf tears up another animal, eats it oichet. What about you? You just push it, kill people. What do you get from it? So the snake says to them, well, what do you get from speaking Lashon Hara about me, about speaking negatively to me? All right. Rabami, says Rabami, all right, says Rabami that a fellow's prayer is heard if he puts his soul in his hands. Wow. Friends, when you daven, do you put your soul in your hands? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you? Put your soul in your hands. Alright. Shenema, as the puzzle says, Nisa levavenu el kapayim, that we lift up our hearts to our hands. Alright. Ini, is this really so? Ukim Shmuel amora oliv v'darash, but Shmuel basically taught by fatu b'fim uvulshona michaz v'lo, that they were being nudniks. That by fatu b'fim they were like, what's the word by fatu? Like to seduce maybe with their mouths, uvulshona michaz v'lo, and they were lying. V'libam lo nachanimo, and they weren't being straight with the Eibishter. V'lo nemnu bivriso, they weren't trustworthy in his covenant. Ve'afal pichein, and even so, still the Eibishter, the next pasuk says in Tehillim, is very merciful. So on the one hand, we're saying that a fellow's prayer is only answered if he puts his soul in his hands. Yet at the same time, we're saying that even if the Yidden are like major nudniks, still that the Eibishter is merciful. So lokasha kan biyachid kan betzibur. So it depends. An individual, so he shouldn't be a nudnik. If an individual is a nudnik, it's not good. His prayers won't be answered. He has to put his soul in his hands. But if a fellow is in a congregation, so then I guess even if you don't put your soul in your hands, it's still okay. All right. Still, v'urachim yichaper avim. Rabami, says Rabami, in Gisham Yordim El B'Shvil Baile Amono, that it rains because of the people who have belief, who have faith. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Emes Meretz Titzmach, that when there's truth in the ground, V'tzedek Mishamayim Nishkaf, then there's rain from the heavens. So when the people are trustworthy on the ground, so then there's rain coming down from the heavens. From Rabami, says Rabami, Baru'eh Kama Gedolim Baile Amono, come and see how great it is to be trustworthy, true to your word. Minayin, from where? Michulda uvor, from a pit and a weasel. Ma'amaymin b'chulda uvor kach, hamayim ba'kodesh baruch hu, alachas kama v'chama. And if this is what happens for a fellow who believes in a pit and a weasel, then certainly if a fellow believes in the Eibishter, that's big stuff. Friends, who wants to tell us what the story is with the weasel and the pit? It's a very, very good story. Basically, there was a young man and a young woman, and what happened? They like fell into a pit or something like that, and I think she fell into a pit, Lamaisa, and then he said to her or something, if I save you, will you marry me? Something like that. And she's like, yeah, all right, that sounds fine, just get me out of here. And then they're like, wait, but who's going to be witnesses? They're going to be like, well, we got a pit here and we got a weasel. They'll be our witnesses. So, all right, that's what happened. And like, they got saved, I guess. But then what happened was as time went on, they didn't get married. And this fellow married somebody else and he had 2 children. And one of them got killed by a weasel. The other one got killed by a pit. And his wife was like, yo, bro, what's the deal with the weasel and the pit killing our kids? And he's like, oh yeah, right, I forgot. There was this story with like this girl, I was supposed to marry her, and the weasel and the pit were the witnesses, and that was the whole thing. So, if we see that like there are people that kind of put so much faith into a pit and a weasel, and sort of there was this whole story around the pit and a weasel, so then Memele, if a fellow puts the same amount of trust in the Eibishter, big things can happen. Alright, let's go weiter. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, it says Rabbi Yochanan called Matzdik es atzmo milamaita, a fellow who sort of is a good fellow. So then Matzdikin olav hadin milamayla. Well, then you got to be careful in a certain sense. Meaning, while it's amazing to be a good fellow, and everybody should be a good fellow, but it also means that the Eibishter is going to be very strict with you, which is ultimately a good thing, because that means that any sins will be taken care of in this world, and you won't have to deal with them in the next world. But somebody who's a good fellow, so Matzdikin olav hadin milamayla, well, then from above they're sort of more particular and strict with him. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, "Emes me'eretz titzmach v'tzedek mishamayim nishkaf." That if there's a fellow who's truthful in this world, so then from the heavens they're sort of tzedek, very midas adin, sort of okay, so that any problems will be fixed in this life, not in the next one. Where are we? Reb Chia bar Oven Omar Rav Huna Givaldik says Reb Chia bar Oven, the Arisha Bachabur, the lion of the congregation of the group. Rav Huna says the name of Rav Huna Mehalcha from the following pasuk, Uchirascha Evrasecha, that sort of in relation to your fear, right? In relation to how a fellow fears the Eibishter, that is Evrasecha, sort of the way in which God sort of gets upset at the fellow, or he can get punished. Again, just so that the punishment should be in this world, not in the next. Rish Lakish says Rish Lakish from here, Pagaita es sos vose tzedek bidrachecha yizkirucha hinata kotzavta v'nechta aboim olam v'nivoshea. That you have smitten, hit those who rejoice and do good things. Bidrachecha yizkirucha, they mention you in your ways. Hinata kotzavta v'nechta, and you get angry when they sin, and where are we? Boim olam v'nivoshea, and through them, the world gets saved, I guess. So you have these people that they're good, gewaldige, geschmacke Yidden, so the Eibishter is more exacting with them. Amr Bishur ben Levi says, Bishur ben Levi, Chasamech b'Yisurin Aboyin Olav, a fellow who is happy with the, I always forget, afflictions that come upon him. Maybe Yeshua Olam, he brings salvation to the world. Shenamar Aboyim Olam v'Nivoshea, it says that in them the world is saved. All right, let's go weiter. Amr Shlakish says, Shlakish, what does the pasuk mean? V'otzor es hashamayim, that the Eibishter is going to, close up the heavens. B'shashamayim ne'etzarin milahorid motor, that when the heavens are stopped from raining down rain, it's similar to a woman who is ready to give birth, but doesn't actually give birth. This is what Rish Lakish says. Mishum bar kapore, the name of bar kapore. Nemra atzira b'gsham v'nemra atzila b'isha. It says atzira, stopping by rain. It says stopping by a woman. Nemra atzira b'isha. Where do we see that? It says atzira, stopping by a woman. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, by Abimelech and Avram, ki atzor Hashem bad kol rechem, that the Eibishter had stopped up every single womb and nobody was able to give birth, or I think even go to the bathroom or anything. All their orifices. What's an orifice? I don't know. They weren't able to go to the bathroom or anything like that, or maybe give birth. I think that was kind of part of the thing. V'nemra atzir b'gishabim, and it says atzar, to stop by rain. Tichsiv, as the pasuk says, v'otzor es hashamayim, that it will stop up the heavens. So it says atzar by birth and atzar by rain. So memele, when it doesn't rain, it's like the comparison, the analogy is to a woman who's ready to give birth but does not give birth. Nemar leida b'isha v'nemar leida b'gishabim, it says birthing by a woman, it says birthing by rain. It says birthing by a woman, as it says that she got pregnant and gave birth to a son. And it also says giving birth by rain, where in the Haftorah that we say on fast days, on Taanis tziburs, as the pasuk says, and that the rain will have the earth give birth and make it sprout. It also says pakad, right, to remember by a woman as well as by rain. It says remembering by a woman. The pasuk says Vashem pakad es Sarah, that the Eibishter remembered Sarah. And it says remembering by rain. The pasuk says pakad ha'aretz v'ateshokikel, that you remembered the land and you gave it to drink. Rabbas ta'ashirena, and make it well rich. Peleg elokim molimayim, that the stream of God is filled with water. Okay, so it says to remember by water, by rain as well. My peleg elokim molimayim. What does it mean that the stream of God is filled with water? Tano k'min kuba yesh barakia shemimena gesham yotzin. That there is some kind of like window, some kind of storage of water in the heavens, that all the rain comes from this like place. All right, that sounds very, very nice. Omer b'Shmuel bar Nachmani. Okay, says b'Shmuel bar Nachmani. What does he say? What does the pasuk mean? Im l'shevet, im la'artzo, im l'chesed yamtzi'eu. All right, what does that mean? Im l'shevet bar mugvo. So if it's like with a staff, so I think there's like two ways to understand this, but so I think Rashi understands it that if it's like in a staff, that kilu, if the Yidden were being nudniks, and therefore God was gonna bring like heavy rains, like too heavy rains, like, meaning heavy rains that are too heavy, that are destructive. So if we do tshuva, so then instead He brings the rain on like mountains and stuff, so that at least it won't affect, have a negative impact. Im l'chesed, now if the rain is for kindness, yamseu la'artzo, so then it'll just bring it on the land, so that the people could benefit from these great rains. Besadus v'chramim, in fields and vineyards. Im l'shevet li'lanus, or an alternative understanding is that if it's sort of midas adin, so then if we do tshuvas, then the Eibishter is going to bring it for the trees. Im la'artzo, if it's for his land, lizraim, for like seeds and plants and stuff. Im l'chesed yamtzi'eu boros shichun umaros, and if it's for kindness, for chesed, so then that's the pits, ditches, and caves. All right, great. I mean, whenever there's gewaldige rain, we want it and we benefit from it, and gewaldig. This is very interesting, friends. That during the days of B'Shmuel bar Nachmani there was a famine. Umosana. Also there was a plague. Amre, they said, so what do we do? Very interesting. We can't pray for two things. We can't pray to be spared from both the famine as well as the plague. So we can only choose one. So what do we do? So they said, all right, well, look, if we're hungry, at least we're alive. If we're dead, then we're out of luck. So they figured, what? If we can only choose one, we should probably pray that this plague goes away. What about the fact that we'll be starving? All right, we'll have to deal with it. B'Shmuel bar Nachmani says, punkt fakert, davka the opposite. We should pray that there should be no famine. That we should pray that we should have lots to eat and abundance. Because when the Eibishter gives plenty, bounty, He gives it to people who are alive, people who are going to live. The Eibishter is not going to give all this plenty of food and stuff for people who are going to die the next day. No way, no how. So therefore, says Shmuel bar Nachmani, you should pray for the bounty. Because memele, if God is going to give you a bountiful sustenance, well, He's not going to give it for a waste. Rather, He's going to give it so that people will live, and then memele the plague will go away because people are going to live. The pasuk says, that the Eibishter opens up His hands and He gives to the people who are alive, in desire. So memele, if the Eibishter is going to bring food and sustenance and bounty, so memele you're going to live. How do we know that you don't pray for two things? The pasuk says, that we fasted and we prayed and we asked and we beseeched the Eibishter on this. implying that there was also that, right? Kilu, that there was this and there was that, and we prayed for this, not for that. So in Mele, we see that when there's two things, you only pray for one of them. But my Rav Amr, they say in Eretz Yisrael, Mishmei Chagai, Me'achov Mir, V'rachben Lemiva Kadam Elo Shmaya, and we prayed to the Eibishter Al Roza Dino on this secret, implying that there was another secret, but we prayed about this particular one. So we see that we only pray for one Inyan. B'mei Reb Zera Gazer Gzera, V'gazer D'lo L'meisa B'Taanisa, that in Reb Zera's days there was a decree that the Yidden were not allowed to fast. And you don't want to know what happens if you do fast. The Gzera was you don't fast. When there's a Gzera not to fast, you don't fast. But Amulu Reb Zera said, but you know what we can do? Nekable Yilavun U'Lichibatil HaGzera Lisve. You hear that? So Reb Zera suggested, well, why don't we do this? Let's accept upon ourselves the fast day. Now we won't actually fast because that's dangerous, because the Nudniks said that we're not allowed to, and you don't want to test them. So we're not going to actually fast, but we're going to accept upon ourselves the fast, and when we have the opportunity, we will then sort of do it. But we're accepting upon ourselves the fast, and to get all sort of the effects of the fast right now. But the actual execution of the fast will be at a later date once the Nudniks go away. So Amrele Minalach Hos, they said to Reb Zera, how do you know that you're allowed to do this? That you're allowed to basically accept upon your fast now, and it'll be as if you fasted, even though you're only going to actually fast at another time. Amrele, he said to them, Tichsiv, as the apostle says, Vayomer Eli Atir Daniel, that he said to me, who was that? Was that the Malach Gavriel? Who said that? Who said that to him? I don't know. He said, don't worry, Daniel. That already from the first day that you put it to your heart to fast, already your words were heard before God. That even before you actually fasted, but from the time that you put it in your heart to fast, then already your words were heard before God. So we see that even just the intention to fast, even if you're going to actually execute it at a later date, that is effective. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Yitzchak, afidu shanim kishnei Eliyahu, that if you have years like in Eliyahu that we learned about the other day with Achav, that there was 7 years of no rain. If it were to rain on Friday when everybody needs to go shopping and get ready for Shabbos, in Elasim and Klala, that is going to be a curse, right? It's like that old Yiddish curse, right? All your teeth should fall out except for one, and that one should have a toothache, right? So here also, you have the situation of like Eliyahu Navi. There's no rain at all for 7 years. The only time it rains is on a Friday afternoon when everybody has to go shopping for Shabbos. Hanudama Rabbi Bashila, this is like what Rabbi Bashila says, Kashiyoma de Mitra, Kiyoma de Dina, that a rainy day is as difficult as the court days, right? The court days are Monday and Thursday. We're going to learn about in Bava Kama. Already in Megillah, right? The first Mishnah in the Megillah, right? That's why you can read from the 11th until the 15th of Adar. You can read the Megillah because what was it? Yom Knisa Lakol? Is that what it is? All right, we'll learn about it in just a few weeks. So on those days, on Monday and Thursdays, when there would be court, so then it was a whole tumult every Monday and Thursday. So therefore, so says Rabbi Barshila that a rainy day is as difficult as the court days. Amar Ameimar says, Ameimar, friends, you ready for this? Friends, do you hear that? If not for the fact that we need rain, because we can't live without it, but if not for that, who the heck would want it? Ruins all your plans. Who's ever been to an outdoor wedding in Chutz La'aretz where it didn't rain? The second you want to make an outdoor wedding, all of a sudden, Memela, you're just asking for rain. And it's so you do it in the summer, and you're pretty much good. But how did we get into that? Because the point is, rain is annoying, but there's tremendous upsides to rain, which is that we wouldn't be able to survive without it. So says a Maimar that if not for the fact that we need rain, well then it would just be annoying. And says Rabbi Yitzchak, Shemesh b'Shabbos tzedakah la'aniyim, that a sunny day on Shabbos sounds givaldig to me, and so it's a tzedakah, a charity for the poor people. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, V'zarcha lachem yirei shmi, Shemesh tzedakah u'marpeh, that it will shine for you, those who fear my name, a sun that will have charity and healing. Rabbi Yitzchak, says Rabbi Yitzchak, whoa. Says Rabbi Yitzchak, a rainy day is givaldik, that even your money in your pocket somehow becomes blessed on it. Even something that doesn't need rain, like money in your pocket, even that becomes blessed on a rainy day. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, to give rain at its proper time, and to bless all of you, the makings of your hands. So even the things that don't necessarily need rain, but even those things will get blessed when there is rain. From Rabbi Yitzchak, it says Rabbi Yitzchak in a bracha mitzuya ela b'davar samui min ha'oyin. It says Rabbi Yitzchak that blessing is only found with something that is not quantifiable, something that is hidden. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Yitzav Hashem itcha es habracha ba'asamecha, that the Eibusher will send with you, will command to you blessing in your storage houses. Taanis Rabbi Shmuel was talking to this message of Rabbi Shmuel, ein habracha mitzuya ela b'davar she'eino ayin sholetes bo, that the blessing is found only in something that the eye cannot rule over it and quantify it. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Yitzav Hashem itcha es habracha ba'asamecha, that the Eibusher will send blessing in your storage houses. Let's go weiter. Taner Rabbanan the Rabbi Star, nichnos lamod is garno, a fellow goes in to measure his storage house, his granary. Omer yiratzum b'fanecha Hashem Elokeinu shetishlach bracha b'ma'aseh yadeinu, that before he gets started sort of sorting out the grain, when it's just a huge mound of it and a pile of it, and he doesn't really know how much there is, so at that point, when it's somewhere in ayin, when it's still hidden, you don't know the exact quantity, so at that point you could pray, hey God, can you make it blessed? Can you maybe add a little bit more? After all, I don't know exactly how much there is anyway, so I'm just, so bless the grain and make it be very plentiful. And so at that point you could still pray for that. Hischil Lamud, but once he starts to measure it, so it changes. So then he says, blessed is the one who sends blessing to this pile that I'm now sort of measuring. However, once he already measures and he knows exactly how much there is, and then he blesses that he should have a lot of grain after he knows exactly how much there is. Well then, Hare Zot Tfilas Shav. That is like a prayer that is in vain. Because blessing is not found in something that's measured. Not in something that's weighed, not in something that's measured. Not something that's counted. Only something that is hidden. So therefore, when it's like a huge mound, you don't know how much there is in there yet, so then you could pray that it should be plentiful and blessed. But once already you know exactly what you're working with because you already weighed it out and measured it, well at that point if you pray that it should be particularly blessed, well it already is what it is, so that is a prayer that's in vain. Friends, that was daf ches, daf 8 of Masechta Taanis. The first part of the daf talked about students who had trouble learning and how they should clarify their teaching in advance. We saw that Rish Lakish would prepare before his meetings for Rabbi Yochanan by reviewing 40 times, like the 40 days before they received the Torah. Rav Ada Bar Hava would review 24 times before going to visit Ravit. Then we kind of learned all sorts of stuff about davening and about rain. We saw that God is particularly exacting with when it comes to tzaddikim. We learned something very interesting, which is that we don't pray for two things. If there are two things, we saw, for example, by Shmuel Bar Nachmani, there was a fast, there was a famine as well as a plague going around, and they couldn't pray for both of them. They just had to choose one. Shmuel Bar Nachmani said you should choose to solve the famine issue, because then Memela, the Eibusher is not going to want to give you plenty of food and then kill you, so that would Memela solve both of them. But interesting that they were unable to pray for both. We saw some different perspectives on rain, which is very interesting. The one perspective on rain was that if we didn't need the rain, then it would just be annoying. The other perspective is that rains are so geschmack that, even like things that don't need rain get blessed by rain. Then at the end we discussed that blessing is found in something that is not quantifiable. When it's not quantifiable, so then there could be blessing applied to it. But once already you know exactly what things are, so then it's not. So then if you pray that it should be particularly blessed, it already is what it is. So that would be a prayer that was in vain. Friends, that was Daf Ches of Masechta Taanis. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.